What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Peace, peace. What's up with everybody? What's up, everybody? Peace, peace. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing today? Give y'all a few minutes to kind of tap in for a minute. It's been a while. It's been about a week since I last went live. So it was only right that, I go live and I present something to you all. So I'm big on shadow, I'm big on alchemy, big on shadow work. So in that sense, we're gonna discuss the shadow. We're gonna discuss the shadow. I made a post, and it's the topic matter of what we're gonna be talking about. Why living a spiritual life is not gonna save you from shadow suffering. We're gonna dig into that because a lot of us have yet to understand what this means. A lot of us have yet to be able to, deal with that particular side of things. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. All right. Now, first off, before starting or what have you, if you're new here, this is your first time joining, just want to let you know that I do not DM for any readings at all. So if you've ever been DM talking about a reading, it's not me, it's a scammer. I only have one page. I have no backup pages. I do not, make a backup page to DM people, so the disclaimer is there so that you know and you're well aware. So when someone inboxes you pretending to be me, you know that that's not me, because I've stated, multiple times, and I make that disclaimer that that's not something that I do. Unfortunately, we live in a world where a lot of people, scam, unfortunately. So to protect myself and to be in the best interest of those who do follow me, I make sure to make that disclaimer as often as possible. All right, so I don't DM. I do not have any backup pages. Any pages that is DMing you pretending to be me is not me. Now, I don't know what type of readings those people do. I don't know. It may be helpful to you. I'm not sure. But please be understand that it's not me that you are talking to. I have no idea who these people are. You know what I mean? So before you go giving these people your money, just know that that's not something that I do. Now, if anybody wants to work with me one-on-one, I do have that service available. All my services and products you can find in the link in my bio. So if you're not, doing something through that link, then you're not really dealing with me. So that's first things first, to get that out of the way. So we're going to get into our discussion today. We're going to talk about our topic matter. We're going to talk about the shadow and what's seen as shadow suffering. I talk a lot about shadow work. I get asked a lot about shadow work and what shadow work is. And, we have to, what's it? I don't know. I don't know why it's not. Can y'all see me? Y'all can see me good? Y'all can hear me, right? Close out and go back.
Oh, you
okay, so it's a delay in it. Okay. Alright, cool. Alright, so y'all can hear me good, everybody can see me good, everything is good, right? Give me a thumbs up if everything is good. Alright, cool. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate the feedback. Now, the reason why, because in doing a lot of these interactions, a lot of these sessions, with people, there's a pattern that's present, especially amongst us who do have, quote unquote, some spiritual awareness. This is a tricky ground because we don't have guidance and this means of being initiated into this information, which is how you get a lot of people determining people being of new age versus traditional spiritual systems, right? Because we're kind of free winging it because we don't have a means or a guide, and honestly, that's kind of the point of it all. In actuality, the point of it is to be self-guided, to be self-directed, to build on that personal relationship. But a lot of our spiritual practices, right? What we have to understand is that the ego and the shadow is intertwined. They have a complementary relationship. Whatever builds up your ego is in sacrifice to your shadow. So anything that you do not avidly display, that you do not bring into the light, is pretty much forced into your shadow self. And that's for different reasons. Some of us push a lot of good qualities into our shadow self. That's what we have to understand about shadow work. It's not always bad things that we push down. Sometimes we push down good. Because unfortunately, we are raised in environments. We have caregivers and whatnot, people around us who might be narcissistic, who may be imbalanced. And that weighs on us, especially as children. See, the makings of your shadow happens, and it occurs during childhood. Right? So that's the impact, the influence of your parents, of siblings, your classmates. And even as you get older, it translates into the workplace. There's a shadow. See, it depends. The reason why I do bring out astrology, or I do bring out numerology, is so we can have a means of being able to understand ourselves. A means of being able to look at ourselves, to understand and interpret the archetypes that's being described through astrology or through numerology. And it doesn't even just have to be that. It's really just a means of mythology. It all goes back to myth. Because every zodiac sign in itself, every planet has a myth surrounding it. Because there's a greater lesson in what those signs and what those energy things are presenting to you. Because again, they are archetypes. So when we say archetype, archetypes are universal. They translate all across in everything that we do. So when you're able to recognize archetypes, you see them everywhere. So it's a means of understanding the psyche, right? So every zodiac sign is an element of the psyche. It's a different means of expression of that energy. So when we say shadow work, what we're doing is we are bringing light to that shadow. Because we always have to remember that balance is required. Too much light or too much dark, either or can be just as blinding. You can be blinded by too much light. And that's when we get the ego inflation, right? Because if a lot of people never really do that work and confront themselves, then you have room for that ego inflation. And a lot of people get into that superiority complex, right? So now it's a superiority thing because I have this information, because I have this knowledge. So it's a drift away from the path because really you're supposed to be applying it. It's not about making yourself better than somebody else. It's about making yourself better than you were yesterday, right? But we can get so caught up in the competition of things because we live in this split world, this split reality. Now, here's what I really want to talk about. Because, and I know a lot of us has dealt with this. If you on this live, if you listen to what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure that some of your spiritual practices, you dealt with outsiders, you dealt with common people or NPCs or the zombies, or those of religious types that will say that you doing devil work. You working with the devil, you doing dark, you doing satanic work, right? Now I'm gonna tell you this. Now I want y'all to follow me because in some way, shape, or form they are correct. Now let me explain what I'm saying and let me break down what I mean. Because you have to understand that everything that's housed under occult or empowerment knowledge or ancient knowledge that predates the historical switchover before Christianity is housed under Satanism, right? Now we know when we do our due diligence and we spiritually understand, it's not about worship. right? We know we don't worship. We don't worship outside of ourselves. It's a different. It's a different means of understanding, right? Because see, religious people can't really understand it. So when they see you work with crystals and stuff like that, they think you worship it. Because in all actuality, that's how they mind work. Because you ever notice how they react to the Bible? You can't. In their minds, the Bible's synonymous with God almost because they worship it because they don't understand the difference. That's just how they are. It's dogma, right? So it's dogma. So when they say you're doing the devil's work, you are. All those spiritual practices, right? This is why a lot of us can't meditate. It's because you bringing that to the surface. You bringing your shadow out. Now understand, it's different levels of people in terms of their relationship with their shadow. Now you have a lot of people who suppress their shadow. And when you talk about heavily religious and dogmatic people, they suppress the shadow. It means of they want to act like it doesn't exist. It's a completely disowned part of themselves. That's how you have the whole concept of the devil. The ego itself is what creates the shadow. It's so in the same sense. That's why God made the devil. If we looking at it in that context, if we understand the law of correspondence, right? We understand what's in is what's out. Because they had to build it off of the same science. But they just have to flip it in a means so that you can't be receptive to it. So that you can turn away from it. That's what you have to do. So when they say that, right? When they say those things, they saying that from a lack of understanding. But in the grand scheme of things, they are right. Because that's what you bringing up. When you meditating, you bringing your shadow out. You calling your shadow forward. So if you're not prepared to meet your shadow, you're not going to do no work. Because when you bring your shadow out, and it depends on how much you have studied, quote unquote, evil. Because it's going to depict itself in terms of what you see as evil. Understand this now. So everything that your mind conjures that's dark, that's monstrous, that's unacceptable, that you're going to deny it at all costs is the ugliest thing that you could ever bring forth in your mind. That's the whole horror movie pandemic thing that we see that's been going heavy since the 80s. It's big on the propaganda of promoting religion to you in a certain way. See, they don't care if you don't want to go to church no more and you don't want to call on Jesus. They don't care about that. It's about your mind still being split in two to not be able to see the two different poles for what they are. Because as long as you have the fear of that side, you're never going to deal with it. That's what you have to do to get to your shadow. The shit is scary, especially when you talk about people who never deal with anything pertaining to darkness. And when you talk about darkness, it's whatever people want to hide. So it could be small, it could be big. It could be selfishness, it could be greed, it could be lust. That's why you see people oftentimes being hypocritical of that which they preach against, because it's usually what they hide in the shadow. So when they say that that's what you're doing, that is what you're doing. Because you empowering yourself. You're not supposed to empower yourself. See, morals and ethics are two different things, right? When we look at morals are pertaining to societal norms, right? Now we know you ain't supposed to commit murder. It's some things you ain't supposed to do. But in the same sense, to rebel against that very societal system in itself is an act of evil. Understand what I'm saying now? So when they say these things, you can't be bothered by it. Because when you get bothered by them saying, oh, well, you dealing in some dark stuff, you still got work to do yourself. I know this myself personally because I had a lot of work to do in this area. Because it still comes down to a sense of acceptance. Because it's about judgment between right and wrong. That's all it is anyway. It's about a right or wrong. You can always be wrong depending on who you're talking to. Depending on where that person is standing, depending on the perspective of it. So everything when you work with Chris, all that you're doing, that's empowering your true inner self, you're always going to be seen as bad. Because it goes against the paradigm of this society of what's right. Because what's good and right is good and Christian. So if you ain't that, then you on the other side. But see, a lot of us can't accept that we on the other side. We still trying to explain away what we doing and why we doing it to people who can't even understand. Why are we explaining to them? Why are we explaining to them? See, that's shadow work. That's why we need to do that type of work. Because why we keep beating a dead horse? Why every day? Why you keep talking to the same people over and over about the same thing, getting the same response? That is insanity. Think about it. It's insanity. What keep driving you to keep doing it? You got to address the shadow. And automatically addressing your shadow is addressing your ego, because they intertwine. It's a balance of light and dark. See, when you too much light, you can't deal with the darkness. You can't deal with the shadow. But see, you're not understanding, when your shadow presents to you your buried gold. If you can't ever deal with your shadow, you never gonna reach your highest potentials. Because in that darkness is that light. At least in the yin yang symbol, they got that right. At least when you look at it, because on the light side, there's darkness inside of the light. And when you look on the dark side, there's light inside of the darkness. They was really giving game. It's one of the more, one of the more honest symbols that there is when you talking about yin yang, because it really is about balance. But it's deep. It's light and dark. See, it's like we all have ethical dilemmas every day in our life. You have to be the judge of that every day in your life. And sometimes we misjudge. Sometimes we get that shit wrong. And we have to learn a lesson from that. So every time you doing anything dealing with your dark side, dealing with your inside, because that's all it is, your inside, whether it's in your mind or whether it's dealing with your feelings, whether you trying to change any of that shit, you dealing with darkness. That's dark magic. It's not about anything outside you. That's the dark magic. It's come from in you. There's you using your melanin. There's you activating your light body. So when you dealing in your dark self, you doing dark magic. But see, the trick is to have you thinking, we caught up. We programmed into this heaven or hell concept. We really deeply, heavily programmed into that. They told us this in Django. See, they disguised it, and they said it was based off, if you look at the physical anatomy according to the skull. See, they told you. They gave you game. The way your mind works, the way your brain is, it's different. That's why it's so easy for you to be addicted to this shit. That's why you under this spell. So you have to get past people saying, oh, well, you doing that dark stuff. You damn right I'm doing that dark stuff. Because all this light stuff ain't working either. It's not working either. All you doing is dealing with what's going on in the inside. Damn, why do I keep reacting like that every time? Like, that takes real courage to stand up and face yourself like that. Them your demons. It's no other demons but you. It's your ways. It's you. It's all the shit that you do. It's you resulting to, eating junk food and doing all of that when you get in the emotional frequency. Then that's your demons, because it's gonna lead to your destruction. You're gonna end up getting diabetes. You're gonna end up being sick. All these things gonna happen. You're gonna make all of these decisions, all of these choices to lead to your destruction. Because we don't know how to face ourselves. We don't know how to do it. Even when it comes to being locked down, being locked in, they lock you in a cell. Why is it called a cell? You got trillions of cells in your body because you locked in your body. Like, why you get a charge when you go to... Think about these words and terminology. It's all intertwined. But I don't care how much light work you do. If you're not going into the dark, you're not doing no work. Not for real, for real. Not for real, for real. It's just hiding. And the more, people, it can hide, it can be pushed away, because, out of sight and out of mind. But once it gets an opening, when it gets an opening, it's a wrap. And see, when we don't do no work, especially men, especially black men, so-called black men, when we don't do no work, y'all like to hope. Just don't even understand when you smash. You destroying shit. But it's a lack of understanding of yourself. You know, so it's like, and you know, one thing about why they say, you know, a lot of men have to go to prison, they have to go to jail, and that's because that's the only way for them to be in solitude. It's the only way for them to deal with their self, yo. You have no distractions. You can't just up and just go and do some shit to be distracted from what you feel, from what you think, and from how you hurt. Because see, when you choose to take this spiritual path, you understand you choosing pain. Understand you choosing it. Because it's a painful transformation in itself anyway. But see, the difference is you just know what's going on. See, you can know the path all day, but it's about walking the path. You can know the path, but are you going to walk it? Because nobody can walk that path for you. And that's what happens a lot of times because a lot of us avoid shadow work. So we seek leaders. We seek guidance. We need somebody to tell us. We need somebody to show us. Whole time, you know what you're supposed to do. You're Dorothy. But you keep looking for the illusion. Why? Why are you seeking out the illusion? So we need the balance. Because see, until you do the shadow work, and see this, then you see a lot of people, like I say, we lose the groundedness. So people be so spiritual, they be so stuck up here, they can't live and can't take care of themselves down here. All of the regular things, you know, the everyday things fall by the wayside because we lack the ability to have a balance. Because we lack the understanding of the dark side. We just so caught up in that high frequency. Man, you need that too, though. You have to have that also. Like, it's a reason you came here. It's a reason why you're here. See, when you go into the dark, when you go into that part of studying, it's like you really going into the deepest of your mind. That's all dark. All this dark occult is nothing but talking about your mind. Because the mind is infinite. It's just as much as the universe is. So it's just talking about your mind. So it's talking about magic. It's talking about your mind. We're talking about transformation. We're talking about all these things. We're talking about going through portals. We want to talk about shape-shifting. Do all these things. Do this shit through your mind. Now, there is a means of these things happening externally, but that's a different conversation. But what we have been told about demons, the devil, and all of that, it's lies, man. It's lies. Now, are there entities or beings that do fester off of negative energy? Absolutely. But the way we are programmed to view these things and to perceive these things is at a disadvantage to us spiritually. That's what we have to understand. So, because you're limiting the nature of your being. You're limiting who you are based on the people that came and conquered you. Like, that don't even make sense. Think about it. How much sense do it make to define yourself off of the people that came and conquered you? So, you know, you got to think about it. The lie messing up, y'all. Is the lie messing up? Let me know. I think it's glitching out. So I put the cash up on here. So when we looking at it, like I say, you know, all these things are a means of empowering you. When you dealing with crystals, crystals are minerals. They're made from the earth, just like your avatar, your body's made from the earth. So if it has a connection to the earth itself. So to say, you know, because we all deal with it. People will be like, you know, well, y'all, you know, worship crystals and all this. And no, nobody worship crystals. Nobody with no real spiritual understanding is worshiping no crystals, man. And when people that talk like that, you just have to let them be. That's why I say that's an ego thing. Yo, you gotta let them people be, yo. Like, we can't keep wasting our time on the dead people. Like, we really have to let them go. Okay, do whatever you want to do over there, mind. Do what you're doing. And we're going to be over here doing what we do. Because we losing a lot of energy, a lot of time being caught up in them people. They'll get it. They'll get it eventually. And if they don't, they just left behind. That's how it works. That's how it goes. That's a still, we gotta still come out of that. You can only save yourself. All you can do is, in hopes of saving yourself, you inspire somebody else to save themselves too. Cause a lot of times, anyway, the proof is in the pudding for our people. They don't even hear nothing you say till you successful. You long gone out the picture, and then they start listening. That's the sadness, because they only can believe what they see. They don't understand the mind. They don't understand, you have to see it in your mind first. Like, it happens in the mind first. They don't understand that, though. And you can't make them. Like I say, that's ego. But in the essence of doing your shadow work, you're going to confront your ego. You're going to confront your ego. Because you're in pieces. It's about putting yourself back together, putting yourself back whole again. And so whenever we're dealing with the shadow, there's different ways that you see the shadow get presented to you. Whether it's projection, a lot of times it happens through projection. We project those shadow trait qualities on the other people. And, a lot of times when you see people, they really have an over-dramatized reaction to something or someone, it's usually because the shadow is activated. Because you're dealing with the shadow now. You're not dealing with the normal essence of that person. You're dealing with the part of them that has now been, it's almost like you tap the wound. It's almost like putting salt on the wound. So now the defensive part of this person is coming out, that's confronting you. Even when we're dealing with feedback, what our environment tells us, what the people around us tell us. Because if I say, I'm going to stop smoking. If I'm saying that, if I'm saying I'm going to stop smoking. And then there's people around me, right? And I'm smoking. It's like, I thought you said that you weren't going to smoke anymore. How does a person react to that determines where they at in their shadow. So when they react defensively to it, that's a negative reaction to your feedback, because that was your output. Think about a feedback system. It's about adapting your output. Your output was, I'm going to quit smoking. So your environment is giving you feedback now. That's how your mind works. That's what projects. So it's giving you feedback, but that's what you said, but that ain't what you're doing. So how you going to handle that now? Can you handle it? Can you handle that critique? Because a lot of us can't. Especially not when it's coming from somebody that's close to us. See, if it's coming from a stranger, we can deal with it. We can deal with it because your ego ain't wounded when you're dealing with a stranger. But when you're dealing with somebody you love, somebody that's close to you, that's when it's a dance. See, that's when that ego can come in, because there's that feeling of not wanting to be perceived a certain way, or not wanting to be seen a certain way, because it shows you in a bad light. It shows you in a means of something that's unacceptable. You don't want this person to no longer love you anymore. And that comes from us growing up in conditional households. That comes from us growing up in relationships and dealing with people and parents that treated us in conditional circumstances. From them treating us from some people come out of dysfunctional families. And when you no longer want to participate in the dysfunctional, when you don't want to play the role of what the family has allotted for you, then you don't receive any love anymore. You don't receive any attention, any nurturing anymore. You are the outcast now. That's how our families mold us. And see, it's not about blaming your family members, because it's a lineage. It happens generationally. That's why we're breaking generational curses. Generational curse is not just about poverty. It is not just about poverty. Because a lot of people make that generational curse, statement in pertaining to wealth or obtaining wealth. It's not just about it. It's the way we raise our kids. It's the way we eat. It's a ton of different things, yo. It's a ton of different things. So generational curses are all across the board. There are a lot of things we are learning from the lineages of our family that we have to break down, because it's not serving us. Because you got to remember now, we came out of slavery, Jim Crow, and all of these things. There's no collective help for us. There's never been any collective solutions for us. We've just been figuring this shit out. So don't let society gaslight you into thinking otherwise, because there was never any solution or anything laid out for us. It was like, all right, y'all free. Go ahead. And it was still made bad for us. It was still made horrible for us. Even when we prospered, they still burnt our stuff down and took it from us. So there's a lot of things that has happened to us generation that we have to break. And some of these traditions, some of these ways were molded out of survival. It's what our people had to do to survive. So you can't look down on them either. Because without them doing whatever they did, your ass is here. You wouldn't be here without it. So you can never look down on it. And that's why I feel like we got to do the shadow work. Because you can't negate all of that damn darkness that we had to go through. And we still here. We still making shit. We still running things. We still setting the trend. The world is still trying to see what we doing. Even while they put us down, they still looking to us. So, mirrors. I've seen a lot of conversations about mirrors. So understand, everything is a mirror to you. All of your relationships is a mirror. It's a mirror to relationship that you have with a certain part of yourself. So whenever you got friction in a relationship, it's because it's mirroring some friction you have within yourself. So when it comes to mirrors, that's why mirrors are powerful like that. That's why they're portals. You can look at a mirror every day. You can perform a hypnotization on yourself using a mirror. But see, how many people don't like facing themselves in the mirror? That's the point. A lot of people don't want to face themselves. That's why you have the addictions. Whether it's drug addiction, sex addiction, food, whatever it is. That's why you have those things. People can't face themselves. Because they lose parts of themselves. Every time you push down some of who you truly are, you losing yourself. Every time. So it started out in childhood because we have to do certain things for our caregivers. Because, hey, we depend on them to survive. And unfortunately, everybody don't have good parents. Unfortunately, everybody ain't raised in good circumstances. You got teachers, right? You go to school, you got peers, you got teachers. Right? You got, you get older. You go in the workplace. You got the workplace influence. Because some people are built around success. Some people's shadow built around success. Some people's shadow is, I don't equate them much if I don't have anything of value. Some people's shadow go in reverse. Some people come from, families or whatever where there was not a lot of success in it. And that's cast in the shadow. And some people come out of that lineage and they feel very compelled to succeed because the whole shadow has been cast on them. See, we can read how our energy works in our environment when we look at our birth chart. Or when we look at our numerology. See, that's what those are. They're just little keys. They're not crutches, yo. You can't say, I'm this because of this. No, that is your key. That's your shortcut. That's how you find your treasure. It's like a treasure map. You're trying to get back to you. You're trying to get to center. X marks the spot. Find X. That's what you're doing. So everything that we do that is of these spiritual practices, they're gonna bring your shadow out. They're gonna bring your shadow out. If you're not ready to deal with your shadow, you gonna backpedal. You're gonna backtrack. Because you have to deal with the knowledge of the dark side. You have to go into the darkness. You have to pierce the veil. Veil, evil, live. They all got the same. They all the same word. It's a spell. You have to pierce the veil of evil to live. If not, your ass ain't gonna live. You're gonna be a slave to this system. But you have to pierce the veil. That's the spell. The spell of this shit is, your real knowledge, your real power, the stuff that's really gonna empower you is in the darkness. Right? How much are you willing to, how much you want it? How bad you want it? Are you willing to go into that darkness to get it? That's the make or break. That's why everybody ain't built for it. Because everybody can't go into that darkness. Everybody ain't ready for that. Some people try. But you have to pierce it, yo. And it's supposed to be scary because it's a veil. It's not for everybody. That's the initiation in today's time. That's the initiation in today's time. Because this ain't shit but an illusion. That's what the occult teach you anyway. This an illusion. It's an illusion. So think about it. Would you, the stuff that you get mad about, would you get mad the way that you get mad thinking about it as an illusion? Would you get mad about, like think about it. Think about it. This shit like a video game. But see, we can't perceive it that way anymore. Because we don't know. We totally forgotten. We don't know. We don't know, so we can't see it that way. We don't have that spiritual knowledge anymore. So we terrified of what we are here in this physical. That's why the ego is so rampant. Because of all these fears of the physical, because we lack the spiritual understanding of it, because we don't know who we are no more. That's really why. But this is an illusion. It's all an illusion. At the end of the day, if we being real, and it's layers to it. See, it's layers, and you can't really skip steps. You can't really skip steps because for one, it ain't gonna make sense. That's why, I can't teach you 12th grade math while you in the 3rd grade. I can't do it. It's too many steps in between. And a lot of times, this knowledge is given out like that. Depending on who you talking to, who you listen to, because we don't know where everybody's at, because we don't have these systems no more. We don't have that no more. So when I speak on something, if you ain't made it to that, I'm gonna appear crazy to you. Until you get to that level of, oh, now I understand what they were saying. It's like that. So that's why I'm to the point where I try not to judge as much as where people are in their journey. Because even when I look at a Christian person, I know, once upon a time that used to be me. But look at where I'm at now. So who am I to judge them because they going through whatever they have to go through on their journey? I don't know their journey. It ain't my job to know their journey. I can't know their journey. That's why you can't let what other people say deter you so much. Them motherfuckers, they haven't walked your journey. They haven't walked your journey. So when you know what you're dealing with and you choose shadow work, you choosing to face your dark side. You choosing to face your demons. You choosing to face all the things you don't like about yourself, all the things that you want to change about yourself. And in the midst of all that, how else are you going to get the power to even have the discipline to change? That's how you obtain it. Because you have to go through all of that. So when you're looking at it like that, man, it's like, it's different. It's different because it's different parts of us. We're dealing with different aspects of ourselves. And nothing in society deals with any of these things. That's the bad part. Nothing in society deals with the real shit. It just deals with the illusion. Everything in society gets you more deeply embedded in the illusion. But, that's pretty much how it goes. Even when we have slips sometimes. What they call it, a Freudian slip. The hind segment for, we say something we really don't mean. We meant to say something totally different, but we say something else. That's your shadow. That's a means for your shadow. But every time your shadow presents itself, it's an opportunity for you to go within yourself. It's an opportunity to go within. That's what it always is. Because there's always warning before destruction. We get so many warnings, and people will get to the point where it gets really, really bad. So when you get to the point where you having nightmares, you having consistent dreams of the same similar message, spirit is really, your subconscious is screaming at you. It is screaming at you to deal with this imbalance that is going on within yourself. Like, it's barely holding it together. It's a sign. When you start having dreams and shit like that, it's a sign. It is a sign. You better wake your ass up and pay attention because something is not right. That's what happens when you start to dream, because that's how your subconscious speak to you. When you seeing angel numbers, or when you keep getting the same message, that is your subconscious speaking to you. So when you keep getting the same message, if you not getting that message, it's gonna it's gonna magnify every time. It's gonna keep magnifying because you have to get the message. For a lot of us, the message is simple, and it's why you keep doing all this other shit and not doing what's really in your heart and not being who you really are. For a lot of us, that's the message, especially people who are already kind of like away. But it's hard to get yourself up out of the rat race. It's really hard because everything is built around your survival. So it's like, also humor, right? You know, when people say things like, dark humor, what we laugh at is a very, very deep line of insight into the shadow. So when people, make inappropriate jokes, and it's like, damn, bro, that ain't really funny. It's a really key look into their shadow. Now, when you deal with people who can't laugh at a joke, I don't deal with people who can't laugh at no jokes, huh? Because you got to repress shadow, and I don't want no dealings with nobody with no repressed shadow. Because I really don't know who you are. I don't know who you are if you got a repressed shadow. That means you refuse to allow anything to come through at all pertaining to what you might feel. And see, I feel like it's crazy to try and act like you don't have a dark side, yo. Like, it bothers me so bad when people be trying to act like a lot of this stuff don't bother them, yo. Just because it's quote unquote considered normal. Like, that bothers me because that just can't be true to your soul. It just can't be true to your soul. But I don't know, maybe I'm different though. Maybe I'm different, but I don't know, man. It's like you really, it's really about doing that shadow work. It's really about doing that shadow work. And in the same sense, you gotta work with the ego too. You gotta look at the ego too. Because that can run rampant. You can get tricked into thinking that you just that ego. That you just all of those approved, great, acceptable qualities. You not just that, yo. You not just that. You are some of them unacceptable things too. Sometimes I'm selfish. Man, I be spazzing out sometimes. Like, because for one, nobody can be in that sense of striving for peace without, like, really knowing or really experiencing some intense darkness. I think the problem really just comes in when we ignore it. When we try to act like that shit ain't there. Like, it don't work like that. I think that be the problem. Trying to do all this spiritual stuff to make that shadow go away. I don't think that's possible. I think that's how you get them Will Smith situations. Like, I think that's how you get somebody, acting completely out of their character. Diving, spiraling completely down into their negative, chaotic self. I think that's how that happens. It's by not acknowledging that you felt that shit the whole time. Nigga, you was feeling disrespected the whole time, bro. You just never said nothing. You kept pushing it down until you couldn't push it down no more. Because I say dark and not spiritual because we have to decipher the difference in the polarities. Because most spiritual people only want to deal with one polarity. They only want to deal with the light side. And that's imbalance. Because what we consider dark or evil in itself is nothing but an imbalance. It's an imbalance. So whether some people go through psychology and want to say it's a chemical imbalance, or whatever, however you want to determine it, but it's dealing with the energies because we don't want to acknowledge that we feel chaos. We don't want to acknowledge that we come from chaos. We don't want to acknowledge that, we be angry as hell. We have a lot of anger in us. We have a lot of hate in us. How can you not living on earth? How can you not living in this place, living in this world? How can you not? So we have to channel that. You channel it instead of repressing it. You feel me? So I'm only titling it. I don't personally see it as a, dark like bad. But I'm, purposely saying it like that for the purpose of how we discussing what we talking about. But I don't really see it as bad. You know what I mean? Because both of them are you. It's all you. It's like knowing that you still need that part. It's like the favorite, analogy I like to use. It's like venom. It's like eventually, you have to acknowledge that you need it. It's like, bro, it's Professor Clump. It's Sherman Clump. It's the Nutty Professor. Bro couldn't live without Buddy Love. Bro, you can't live. He couldn't even live. He turned into a completely useless utter idiot without Buddy Love. Bro, you can't not have your ego. You can't not have your shadow. You just have to master self. You just have to master self. You know, you just have to rein in the energies. You just have to understand how to channel the energy. You know, we do this all the time. We see it with our kids. You know what I'm saying? Our kids might say, you know, we might notice our kids might have an excessive amount of energy. You know, like, dang, you know, or he might have a tendency to be aggressive. So maybe I find an activity for him to channel that aggression, because sometimes that's who we are. Like, even if we're going back into older times, everybody wasn't a farmer. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wasn't a high priestess. Some people were soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Some people were. It's different. It's different. It's different roles for everybody. You know. Cause see, you have to understand. See, the reason why you gotta address the ego is because the ego is what is determined to separate. So that ego needs to separate from that dark self. But your higher nature of who your highest, you have to bring it all together. You have to bring that together, because the ego is steady trying to separate itself from the shadow, but you can't separate from the shadow. The ego in itself is what casts the shadow. Look at the ego like your light. So everything that you like about yourself is pretty much like your ego. So when you get too much caught up in it and you just only want to identify with that, that's an imbalance in itself. That's how people get their superiority complex. That's an imbalance in itself, because you still can't negate this negative side. You can't go without what that is. And it's not non-existent to you. It's still a part of you. So some people take that route in the spirituality, like they don't even have that part of themselves. I don't trust you if that's what you're saying. I don't trust you. I don't think nobody walking this earth, yo, is able to just be like that. Like, it's a middle road, middle path balance. You know, like, I think that's how we get caught up in the religion, you know, in what Christ is supposed to be, trying to aspire to that, or what Buddha's supposed, like, to me, you have to go into that, you have to study the hidden stuff, because it's the other part of it. Without it anyway, you naturally imbalanced, because you imbalanced in your information. It's like only having one side of the story. How would you feel making a decision about something you only have one side of the story? You know, that's just critical thinking in terms of you wanting to know both sides. But look, I didn't know the pros and the cons. Tell me both parts. Tell me both sides. Because if you get too caught up in that light, that's how light can be just as blinding as darkness, because you're too caught up in the light. That's how we can get tricked either way. That's why they don't really care. It's really about how your mind is working. It's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing. So to me, in my mind, it don't matter to me what anybody want to call their source of power. Man, you can call it Goku for all I care. It doesn't matter, because for one, it ain't my business. That's you and your connection. So, you know, look at the Nutty Professor. If you have the membership, or if you have the astrology class, there's 2 new videos in there. There's 2 parts on the projections, triggers, and patterns, and everything like that, and dealing with the shadow. Go check those out if you haven't. So it's 2 parts up there. I had to split it into 2 because it was too big of a file. So it's like a 3-hour breakdown where we talk everything I'm talking about in this. It's a little more detailed than that. So if you have that, go check that out, and we could go into it a little bit more deeper, because I can't show everything up here on this live, you know, using the screen and everything with references and stuff we look at. But if you have it, log in today, go into your back office, into your library on Know Thyself Universe, and you can check out this whole thing. And I'm also going to put this on there too. Now I'm going to save the live. I will save the live, but I'm going to add the live on there too, because this really does kind of coincide with it. But you know, anybody, y'all got any questions? My apologies on the comments. I really haven't been looking at the comments. I kind of just wanted to kind of get this off a little bit. But yeah, you're right. You can't appreciate the light without the darkness. It's like night and day. How do you appreciate day without it? How do you appreciate the good without the bad? The ups and the downs is a part of it's a part of it. It's a dance. It's a part of being here. It's a part of it all. But the thing is, we don't have to take it so serious now. While we here, while we experiencing it, it ain't always easy to say that, because some things are very painful that we go through emotionally, right? But that's why we here. This is why we here. I heard that did not go into the light. I heard that they do not go into the light as far as going back into the wheel of reincarnation. But see, that goes into people having the knowledge, man. You know, because it's always about the light. And that's the trickery of it. That's the whole Western religion. Even the way Western astrology is set up. That's why some people don't get with it, because it's all based off of the sun. It's based off of your masculine energy. It's based off patriarchy. It's based off the light side. So they give you the imbalance of giving you all this light, and make everything, all this dark over here is bad. It's just bad. And we, you know, that's how our mind works. That's literally how we perceive everything. It filters everything in our whole entire life that way. So we cut off a lot of things, man, because I'm telling y'all, all that empowering information, everything dealing with, you know, if you study ancient Kemet, everything pertaining to these old ancient spiritual systems is put under Satanism. It's put under being considered that, and that alone keeps a lot of people away from it, because we still have a strong sense of acceptance and validation. That's why we don't want people to say we wrong, or to call us bad, or to say we worshiping the devil. But I tell you what, you can say whatever you want to say about me, because I really don't care. Because what you feel about me ain't even my business. They're just telling me more about who you are. Because if anybody can listen to anything that I'm understanding and that I'm saying, and you can easily grasp what it is I'm talking about. You feel me? Like, a lot of the stuff that's quote unquote, you know, pushed as into this is Satanism and all that, where have you ever really seen? Like, it's not real. It's a trick. It's a trick to keep you away from that particular science. It's a trick to keep you away from it. Because anybody that doesn't know, yo, you don't worship none of that. No, you don't. You're not doing no worshiping. It's telling you what's in you. It's telling you what's in you. It's not telling you to go out and worship none of that other stuff. It's like, yo, everything that you're really looking for is within yourself. You just have to go within yourself and look within yourself. So when I say go within, I'm saying you have to face yourself. You have to deal with why you're feeling the things that you are feeling. You know, because somewhere in your life, you went through some trauma or something, and it made you cut off who you were. It's really just about getting back to who you are. It ain't about finding out what the government doing. It's not about none of that. It's about getting back to your true self. Everything else is a distraction. That's why they give you so much light. That's why they give you so much information. They just bombard you with information so that you don't sit and do the most important part. Go within yourself. That's the darkness. Go within yourself. Why you can't close your eyes and meditate for 10 minutes? Ask yourself why you can't do that. It's a reason why you can't do that. But see, as you do it, now for the people who do it, and they get into a practice and they develop a practice, sometimes people get scared out of it. Why? Because they beat their shadow. They meet their shadow. So they show you the shadows in movies. Like, and see what they do is, they kind of try and mix it up with the soul. Right? They kind of try and mix it up with the soul, because you got to understand, like I said before, everything dark magic is just dealing with the soul. It's literally just dealing with the soul. But it's because our mind's so elementary, and how we just view darkness and negativity, we don't look at it like energy. Like, if you get in science, like, look at science. Look at science. Look at the science behind your heart, your potassium pump in your heart. Like, just look at science. These things in your body operate out of positive and negatives. It's about minerals, ions. It's science. So everything negative within you, right? It's not always about actually being negative, like trying to destroy or bring down. It's not just in that sense. It's the way the energy works. It's a receptive energy, meaning it's something that you have to tap into. It's intuitive. So, like I say, the shadow making, all of the shadow making, it occurs from your childhood. It occurs from your role in your family, your position in your family. That's why when you go to therapy, tell me about your family. Tell me about your childhood. Tell me about your relationship with your mother. What about your father? Because it always goes down to the root of them, because those are your archetypes. So the mother, right, is an archetype. It's an archetype. And we can see the same mother energy when we look at the moon. So this is all it is. It's just these different, throughout different places in time, they just had different ways of expressing it. It's no different than the scientific terms that we use today. It's just understanding that this is the dynamics of where we live today, and this is the language that we have to use today. So part of that in itself is a spell, because we can't speak the original tone. So we have to interpret what they may have meant. And a lot of us are getting our interpretations from people who do not understand what them people mean. That's another part of the problem. We have to trust other people's interpretations. Science, dark matter, black hole sciences. Yeah. I mean, they'll tell you that, it's 90 something percent of the universe is dark matter. 90 something percent. So all of that is what you can't see. So there's way more happening in darkness than in light. So when we say, demons, that type of thing, when they talk about Lucifer, it's talking about your mind. So when you go into the dark and you find that light, that's what Lucifer represents. That light that you found in that darkness. You know why? Because now you're going to question the system. Now you're going to question authority. You're going to question authority now, because you see some shit that you ain't supposed to see. You're going to see some things you're not supposed to see. And you can't unsee it. You cannot unsee what you see. So when you tap into some of this knowledge and you get some of this knowledge, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. I'm a Virgo sun. I'm an Aquarius moon. So naturally though, I have a very natural love of studying human nature. So I love studying people. I got a strong Aquarius nature. I do. So anybody got some questions? So anybody want to tap in now? I do have the badges. I appreciate y'all for buying the badges, for sending the badges. Anybody that wants to ever support, because I will tell y'all this is hard. I don't know how honest people are with y'all about living this type of lifestyle. Like when you really want to spiritually walk your path, it's hard. It is hard because, and I get why a lot of people don't wake up, don't make their choice in this life, because it's hard. It's like I said, it's some things you can't unsee what you've seen. And it makes some things hard when it comes to dealing with society. So having that balance can become even more of a struggle than it's ever been, because you do have to still maintain living your life, while all the while trying to walk your path, all the while trying to maintain spiritual practices, all the while trying to, get books and do research. That stuff takes time, man. So when people say, that's why I always say you should support people who you support and what they do in their content and what they create, because whether it's music, whether it's somebody that you consider a spiritual teacher, whether it's somebody that you consider a writer, you should support the people that you naturally align with, because that's in putting money where your mouth is. That's in you truly living up to what you stand on, because you're giving an exchange of energy for something that you value. That's why people always say when it comes to certain business or sales or marketing, if you ever get into that and you really study that, it's a big psychology thing, because it's about understanding how people's minds work. You know what I mean? So when people really want something, they will always find a way to get it. You know what I mean? They'll always find a way to get it. So for people who do live this and who are trying, trying to maintain, trying to, keep a business going to maintain their way of living, it's hard and it gets hard. It can definitely get hard. And don't feel like that you can't work a job just because you woke. Don't feel like that. You know what I'm saying? Just know what a job is. A job is something that's in place for you to take temporary steps to help you to maintain until you figure out what it is that you do want to do, what you do want to be established as. But I don't believe a job should be something that you aim to do your entire lifetime. You feel me? Like, I don't really agree with that. Now, I'm not going to tell people not to do what they got to do to make their living, because it's hard out here. It's really hard out here, and it's even harder living off your own merit, living off your own creativity. Because it can be days, sometimes you go days and weeks and you don't make no money. And for a lot of people, that's scary as hell. For a lot of people, that's why they can't take that leap and completely get into it. You know what I'm saying? So, for people who are on that path, keep pushing and you're going to push through. But find a means to be able to maintain yourself. Find balance. Find a way to be able to find balance. Do you believe in false memory planting inside of one's mind? I believe that can happen, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely can happen, especially if you're in a position of your mind being under extreme stress. Your mind just got to be under extreme stress or duress. So, I always tell people who especially go into the military, you definitely got to be careful when you're going into the military, because, you are pretty much signing up for them to break your mind down. And depending on where you end up in the military is how they're going to build your mind back up, depending on what type of career you take on. That's why a lot of people can't maintain after they get out, because your mind has been broken down and they build you up to be a soldier. And that's the lack of understanding energy in our society. Everybody can't just flow back into it like that. You know what I'm saying? So, it definitely can happen. Like I say, being under extreme stress or duress, you got medications that can make you more susceptible. Pills, drugs, alcohol. That's the basic means of mind control all in itself. That's the basic means of mind control. Like, if we look at history right now, the way that most people know history, man, that's planet memory. That shit ain't even real. It's a constructed memory that's been given to us. So we remember things certain ways, and that might not have been how the hell it was. But, that's how it is. We look at the Mandela effect right now, we be like, I could have sworn something was this way. But when society, so that in a way too is memory plant, yo. I think things happen on major levels, and I think we can get caught up at looking at it on a major level, and we can miss it on how it happens on an everyday micro level. You feel me? So I think that it absolutely happens like that. Absolutely. Stress or anything, it's just what's been happening? What you mean? Have you been remembering things? Oh, okay. I feel like I be getting a text spiritually. Okay. Absolutely. You could be, because when we dream, we can leave, we can do other things, we can soul travel. So, and it also depends on too in how you're if you're able, the fact that you're able to remember too. Sometimes we go through different periods in our life where our psychic energy heightens up. What's happening is you have to do something so you can bring that energy into the physical. Something trying to come through to you in the physical, and it can't get through. There's a blockage keeping it from coming through. Something is trying to come through. So when you feel an attack, that's that energy not being able to flow. That's how it happens spiritually. So in a spiritual sense, you are being attacked. So it can feel like something outright attacking you because it's draining from you. So it's pulling from you. So something could have happened in your life that's like a stopper. And it's like your energy just can't flow. And in not being able to flow, you don't have access to all your vital energy. And in not having access to all your vital energy, some parts of you might not be able to charge when you need to charge. Like, we go through different things, different stages in our life, different cycles. It pulls out different parts of us at different times. So you could be going through something right now that's trying to pull that out of you. So you could be dealing with something very spiritually, it feels like a lot of intense spiritual energy because it's trying to pull that out of you. So you going through like a transformation, What I would recommend is, if you having trouble sleeping with your drink, take a bowl, right? Take a bowl, put water in the bowl, and put it under your bed. Do it for like, I want to say change it out each night, but even if you leave it for 2 to 3, don't leave it more than 3 days, and take it from under your, under your bed. Try that, because water in itself is clarity. Water also has to do with dreams. So right now you could be, it's like, you know how you can put something in water, like something dark, and it can murky the whole everything up in the water. So that can be what's happening to you, your fluidity and everything. So try that. And also, if you do deal with stones, get you some black tourmaline or some obsidian, because black is psychic protection. And it absorbs, so it can absorb that negative energy sometimes. And that's why we have to be careful with the people that we exchange with in our life. You know, when you tell somebody an idea, you know that you're having a sexual exchange with them. You know that's a mental sexual exchange. You know why sometimes, that's why when you might have something in your spirit, something in your soul that you really feel like doing, and you share it with the wrong person, you not knowing, and you don't have the same feeling about it anymore. You don't have the same push to do it, the same passion for it, the same feeling for it, because you exchange with somebody you shouldn't exchange with. That's why sometimes we need to keep things to ourselves. Sometimes we got to keep it to ourselves. It's like a seed that's growing and germinating. If you do it too soon, it's almost like pulling the seed out of the dirt. So you have to let it, you got to let it grow. You got to let it nurture. Sometimes some people's energy is like poison, and that shit will kill your dream. It will kill what you're doing. Also, to you that's having issues, you might want to do a water bath, a spiritual cleanse, or if you live near the ocean, it's always best to do a sea bath, which is, the cleanse, because, the salinity in the ocean, the salt. That's why they tell you, that's what I'm saying. We've always done these little things when we put Epsom salt in our water, because our body be aching, but it's deeper than that, because it's spiritual too, because that salt has a charge, right? So it's a means of trying to balance out your energy. That's why they say sometimes put your crystals in salt. They say protective circles in salt, because it's about the balance. It's about the charge of it. So I would say to try some of those things. That might help you. If you I don't know if you sleep with the TV on. You might want to try turning the TV off. Your mind could just be real permeable right now. So it could be a period in time of right now where everything is just kind of seeping through. We are coming out of Mercury retrograde. Depending on your chart, it might be some things that might have been coming up that might have needed to come back to you to recollect, so that you can reassess it, or so that you can look at it and reevaluate something about yourself. So those type of things. Yes, the water under the bed helps with memory. It helps with memory, and it also helps like just the clearing of that energy, because it's the element of water that you're working with when you're dealing with dreams, when you're dealing with your imagination. So it's having to do with water, so that can kind of help your water element, some clear water. Right, that's why you're not supposed to sleep with everybody. Exactly. But, like I say, we got to keep that in mind with our ideas. Everybody's not worth your idea. You do not share your ideas with everybody, because some of these minds can't even fathom to even think of what you're dreaming. You're putting this big vision to this small person, and we don't always want to accept sometimes that people are lower frequency, lower vibration. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just they just playing that necessary role or part that they gotta play. It's just like looking at all movies without extras in a movie. The movie wouldn't be what the movie is supposed to be. So you have to have extras in a movie. But you can't get caught up in the extras, man. You can't be going to ask the extras, am I doing it? You can't do that. Because you the main attraction in your movie. So you can't get caught up in what other people are saying. Right, salt pulls out impurities. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if any of y'all have ever done this, but there's some holistic practitioners, they have like the salt bath. Or like what it does is it pulls out excessive minerals and things from the bottom of your feet. So it's like a soaking of your feet, and it has salt and it has some other things in it, and it pulls out. So remember, your feet, the bottom of your feet, your soul, it's called your soul. Why is it called the soul? And we know that Pisces rules over the feet. And when we dealing with Pisces energy, it's always about letting go. It's about going back to source. See, that's what the zodiac is supposed to tell you. It ain't really just about aligning with your sun sign. It's about understanding the energy, period, because it's trying to teach you something. So wherever you got Pisces at, or wherever you have energy related to Pisces or planet related to Pisces, that's where you got lessons about surrendering. That's where you got lessons about letting go. So all of these things, man, it's just, I don't know. I have so many things in my head that I be trying to get out. So I'm always trying to find the right type of analogies to get out what I'm trying to say. To get out what it is that I'm trying to say. But I'm definitely going to save this live. So I'm going to save this live. I'm going to put it on the YouTube. I'm going to leave it on the page. But it can get, lost in the page. I will put it on the YouTube. If y'all not subscribed to the YouTube, get subscribed to the YouTube. Because when I put up the videos that's in the membership, I share them on the YouTube as well. So the best means of getting this type of information is on the YouTube. Instagram, we do a little bit more playing here. We do a little bit more, engaging entertainment wise. But, the YouTube and the membership site is where we really put in the information that you know. And I appreciate all of y'all as well. Y'all got me to 77,000 followers. So I appreciate all the engagement, all the interactions, all the shares. Everybody that's purchased the book. If you have an energy report. If you have not received your energy report, because as far as I know, I don't have too many of those that I have to complete other than, recent purchases. So please reach out to me if you did not receive it. Some of these emails came back, they bounced back, and people didn't receive their emails. Some people, I had to send you an email because I needed additional information. So if you did not get it, then contact me so that I can be sure that you get your energy report. Because the energy report has been very helpful for a lot of people. A lot of people have been able to get a lot of breakthroughs just by going off of stuff that's in the energy report. So if you didn't get your energy report, please, please, please reach out to me. Okay, please reach out to me. I do not want anybody to not get their energy report. They're very helpful. And, it don't take a lot for me to do them. And I know that was something that was very helpful to me. So anybody who didn't get it, and you paid for it, hit me up so I can be sure that you get your energy report, okay? Now, the name of the book, we have the numerology book, which is a guide to inner peace, a book about numerology, and then I have a guide to self-mastery, a book for the chaos warrior. That's all about alchemy and shadow work. Both of those you can get the link in my bio, the ebook for $7.77. Or if you want a physical copy of the book, you can go to Amazon, and it's on Amazon. I also have a link in, on my bio. If you want to get the physical copy, you can get it from Amazon. We probably are going to get some more of our own physical copies, so we can send them out ourselves. Maybe even send out some signed copies. We've been thinking about doing like a book signing. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy about it. Y'all let me know if that would be something that you all would be interested in attending. We are here in the Atlanta area, so obviously that will be the location of something like that occurring. So we might do something like that. I don't know. Y'all do not hold me to that. That's just an idea I'm just kind of throwing out there. So if anybody want to give me some feedback on that, that would be cool. So that's why I'm putting that out there. But for the most part, y'all, I'm big on the shadow work. I'm big on us, doing what we got to do to tap into our divinity, get to our divine selves, because, that's who we are. That's who and what we are. And a lot of us are waking up. A lot of us are remembering this. So the connection to those, those kindred spirits, being able to connect with somebody who's gone through some things that's similar to you, that's not going to judge you, that's not going to treat you the way, we're used to being treated from people who's supposed to love us so much, right? So that's kind of the thing, right? And also, if you have the membership, there's an email that will be going out later today to join the Facebook group. And the Facebook group is just a little extra where we're just going to share additional information where people can also share some things there as well for some of the live activities that we're going to be doing. So be on the lookout for that also. We got any questions? Y'all want to build on anything? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. We're thinking about getting the signing, the paperback and even some hardback copies and sending those out. So yeah, we're definitely thinking about that for sure. Yeah, for sure. But aside from that, I know we just had the hurricane. How's everybody doing that's been in the Florida area? Hope y'all good. See, I grew up in North Carolina, so eastern North Carolina. So I'm all too familiar with hurricane season. I'm all too familiar with the hurricanes. Being, my birthday being in September, it was a few times I got a hurricane on my birthday. So, I'm all too familiar when it comes to them hurricanes. I'm all too familiar with that. I'm September 5th. I'm a Virgo. You the 20th. Oh, you just recently had a birthday. Happy belated birthday. Happy belated birthday. Gators everywhere. Oh, y'all can have that, man. Y'all can have them alligators. But I was looking and it was looking kind of bad. When I looked at being in Atlanta now, it's different because I don't have to look into, we don't be getting no hurricanes here. So I don't have to be as attentive, but the family still back home still occasionally gets them. Like I said, I'm from eastern North Carolina, so I'm very much. It wasn't nothing but a fear tactic. I can believe it, man. I can believe it. It was probably kind of altered a little bit, too. It probably was. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but I'm pretty sure. How did I keep my skin glowing? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't put nothing on my face. I don't put nothing on my face. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I just drink nothing but water. I drink a lot of water, and I don't know. I do not. I don't drink no sodas. But my body won't even allow me to drink sodas though. It won't even allow me to drink sodas. So. Oh, okay. Birthday twin, Dana Richardson, 952. I hope you had a good birthday this year. Mine was good. Well, typically they say Virgos, Capricorns and Taurus, but, more so Taurus is like our kindred signs. But, earth signs, because we can understand each other all too well. We really understand, we understand how we work. A lot of people don't have the patience and tolerance to deal with us earth signs. We a little bit too real. And, I say real because we really be dealing in reality. A little bit too much sometimes for those other ones. How do you work on your shadow self? You just got to confront it. You got to love it. You got to love your shadow. You got to love yourself. It's just accepting and loving yourself, all the parts of yourself. Now, it's different means of it. It's different processes. It's different techniques. Sometimes we have to zone in because some of us has dealt with sexual abuse. Some of us dealt with verbal abuse. Physical abuse. Some of us has dealt with betrayal, rejection, abandonment. So it breaks down into, how we specifically have to build ourselves up, because it's like we're in broken pieces. It's different parts of us. We have, just the different versions of us from the different hurts and traumas that we dealt with very early in. Because the younger you are when you deal with these things, you can't process them. Your mind can't even process them. So just in the means of you being able to move forward, the natural development of your mind has to develop an ego, and it happens through those course of events. You have to develop a persona, or a mask, and in astrology we call it the ascendant. So it's just a means of understanding what makes you tick, what your patterns are, what your habits are, the things that you don't want to identify with, that a part of you probably does, but you never nurtured or balanced or provided the right type of, energy towards it to make it suitable. It's kind of like neglecting. It's like the parts of you that you leave. Like imagine neglecting somebody. It's that African proverb for real. The child that's left out of the village is the one that's gonna come back and burn it down. So it's the same thing. The part of you that you don't want to adhere to, that you don't want to acknowledge, the selfish you, the you that doesn't like commitment and stuff like that. So the more you neglect it, the more you act like it's not there, it's gonna creep in. And when there's the opportunity for you to fall into that pattern, and you fall into that pattern, and it wreaks havoc and destruction in your life. But it's because you never really dealt with it. When in actuality, if you dealt with the fact, or become aware that you have an issue with commitment, then you can work on how to establish that, how to become more stable, how to be more dependable, how to be able to see things through. So it's really just dissecting your personality. It's just understanding your character, and it's building up that character. Think about that word, character, right? Think about character. We hear about characters in stories, characters in video games, characters in movies. So your character has a lot to do with who's presented out in the public, who you see yourself as. So your adversary, that anti-you, everything that you don't want to be, or that's opposing to that energy, because it's not acceptable, because it's not agreeable, or because there's consequences with doing certain actions, you have to suppress that. There's always going to be parts of us that we don't act out. It's just like not saying everything that you think. We know that we don't have to say everything that we think, right? So, but there's a means of dealing with your thoughts, though. There's a means of, damn, I have these particular type of thoughts more often than I would like to. So I'm going to address these particular type of thoughts, right? I'm going to deviate away from these thoughts. I'm going to make a conscious effort to not think in this particular way, because when you think a certain way, you think certain thoughts, it's a pattern. So now you have a thought pattern. So in that pattern, it becomes, it's like we have grooves in our brain. Think about it becoming a deeper groove. Think about it getting deeper into who you are. It's getting deeper, and it's getting deeper, and it's getting deeper. So it becomes that's your frequency. That's your vibration. Now you're vibrating at that, because this is what you have thought over and over and over and over and over again. So when you're addressing it, that's how you do shadow work. So you don't want to think like that no more. You have to substitute them thoughts. You have to you brought it to light now. That's really the most biggest part of the shadow work. Damn, you done brought that into the light. So now that you're aware of it, you cannot ignore it no more. It's there now. You have to do something about it now. And if you don't do something about it, that's going to cause its own issues in itself. Some people end up dealing with those type of issues too, because they don't ever want to do anything about it. So it's just facing yourself. It's really facing your demons. For some people, depending on your mind, some people have a greater imagination than other people. Some have greater visual centers than others. Some people literally see demons. Some people actually see demons. Follow me. Follow what I'm saying. Some people actually see this, and this is formulated based off of what you've been seeing all these years, off of what's quote unquote good and bad. So every time we watch Alien and we see Alien, right, and we see what that is, subconsciously, because deep down you know way more than you know that you know. Subconsciously, you're fearing yourself, because that's a representation of you. So you're fearing your own dark nature. You're fearing your own shadow. So in that sense, whenever that shadow presents itself, you're more and more afraid of it, because that image is reiterated in your mind. Subconsciously, that's what you identify with as your shadow, because that's the dynamics or the program that we live in. The shadow being the devil, being the evil, all of those things. That's what casts that. Remember, everything that you see comes from inside your mind. So when you see monstrous and all these other types of things, it's coming from inside of your own mind. That's what you're seeing from your mind. So dealing with the shadow is dealing with those monstrous things. The trick is, see, they took it. That's why I say it's real deep, because it's a lot about your soul. And they can make us confuse the two between the shadow and the soul. So you have a shadow, you have a soul, you have an ego. Your soul is just your true essence and who and what you are. It's the infinite part of you, right? Your ego is what identifies with your light self, with your avatar, with your physical, with my ego is Rakia. So everything that I identify with as being Rakia, everything that I'm proud of with as Rakia, how I look and everything, that's my ego self. That's my light self. Now my dark self is everything that I want to hide about me, the things I don't want nobody to know about me. See, some people create an alter ego to house it. You see what I'm saying? Some people might create a whole alter ego. That's what Beyonce did when she made Sasha Furious. It's to house all of that chaotic energy to give it a presentation of what it did, because that's what they did in society. That it's deific mask. So they took all of these things and placed a mask on it and told you this the devil. Whether that's, the goat horns and all. So you have this image of that's what that is. So when you do the shadow work, you have to face those things because your mind is perceiving that that's what it is. Some people it's worse than others. Like I say, some people actually gonna see some bad, terrible, scary things and they're gonna want to turn back. For some people, it might not be that bad. For some people, it may be a dream state. They may have a dream where they face their shadow self and it feels so real, like an actual battle, an actual war. It actually feels like a physical fight. You might wake up tired, hurt, and beat up and everything. Because that can happen too. Because it's all in how your mind formulates. It's all in who you are. That's why you got to know your chart. Because you got to know who you are. You got to know what you are. And it don't have to be astrology. Astrology is just a good language interpreter for me. To me, astrology is like Rosetta Stone. To me, because every time I see Mercury, okay, so I know this is this. So it's telling me a language. It's providing my mind context to understand this energy. So when I see a bunch of 4s, it's giving my mind context as to what spirit trying to say to me dealing with 4s. Dang, what 4 mean to me? What do I get when I'm dealing with 4? So when we dealing with promotions, we dealing with marketing, they playing with your mind. That's them put things in your mind. Now, a lot of things they putting in your mind is just to get you to buy shit. That's the messed up part. A lot of this is to get you to buy things. It's just out of the sense of capitalism because we're dealing with a lot of greedy forces that, that are in control of marketing, in control of the media. So it's about controlling you. It's about keeping your mind in a lesser than state, but it makes you food for so many other things. It makes you food for capitalism to come in there and take from you. So many different sectors get to take from you all the time because you don't have no wire, you don't have no protection of it. You don't have no means of understanding your own mind. It's like an open season. It's especially black people. It's open season. It's just like our neighborhood. Anybody can come in our neighborhood and open up some shit, and they gonna make a ton of money. Cause it's open season for us. Cause our minds are so wide open. It's so easy. Cause we under so much influence of so many outside things. Cause we don't know who we are. We lack on a collective level. We lack self-identity. That's why we having so many debates. But I give a lot of people credit because a lot of people are having these debates because they feeling what they feeling and they want to change it. But we also have to be aware and we have to have discernment and understand that some of these people are sent in here to cause discourse. Some of these people are sent in to debate and cause the split so that we don't find no solutions. So we have to be aware of that too. Because at this particular point, nobody is outright at war with you no more. It's not outright war no more. It's all up here now. It don't matter. Everything that's yours has been infiltrated. Your music, hip-hop has been infiltrated. We don't have no revolutionary groups no more. All we have is gangs. And all gangs is doing is being territorial over spaces that ain't theirs that we don't even own. That gangs aren't even what they were initially supposed to be. They were supposed to protect our neighborhoods, but they don't do that anymore. All they do now is do the work for the government and for them other people. It's by selling drugs and killing folks. So every aspect of something is infiltrated. Even when you got these NAACP and these other organizations, they not run by us. They not really set in no solution. See, the war ain't outright physical in your face no more. It's in your mind. It is up here. Because if they have your mind, it does not matter. I ain't got to do nothing to you, man. You gonna kill yourself. Literally, we kill ourselves every day off of our food choices. Every day we kill ourselves. We kill ourselves with so many different things. They don't have to do nothing to us no more. Not physically. They don't have to physically come hang us no more. They don't have to do that no more. And it's wild to think that we were a stronger people in our identity back then than we are now, and we have way more access. And I think that's really the point, because with all of the access we have, you have to control the people's minds so that they don't use the access to free themselves. Because at this particular point, we're choosing not to free ourselves. Because anything you do not change, you are choosing. And we choosing this shit at this particular point because we have access. We have a whole lot of access. We maybe even have too much access. That might be part of the problem, is having too much access. And so, and we in our culture, right, we allow entertainment to raise the culture. We look to entertainment for leadership when the whole time it's entertainment. So we want the people that's supposed to be the entertainers to lead us out of our despair. When in all honesty, most of them people are in entertainment because they want to get out of their own situation. They ain't entertainment for the sake of being a leader of the people. That's not what they in entertainment for. That's not what you do it for. Nothing about entertainment is revolutionary. Can it be used as a revolutionary tool? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the whole means of art expression in itself. You're supposed to express, the sensitivities of the world, the collective, everything that's going on. You're supposed to. But it's a business. And just like every other business, it's corrupt. Because it's a business. Anything that makes billions and billions of dollars is corrupt. Anything, I don't care what it is. It's corrupt to some degree. To some degree. But as long as we caught up in the illusion, because we don't want to deal with the dark side, because we don't want to deal with it. Because remember, mind you, they tell you the devil runs the illusion. The devil runs the earth. But that's why they tell you, because it's a trick. It's all about the energy, but you don't want to understand the energy that runs this physical world. Because it's a trick on us, So we get caught up in the illusion. So you live in the land of milk and honey. You live under the illusion, the planet image of the American dream. You want the American dream. And a lot of us help perpetuate that illusion. Look at the way rappers, look at the way they do. Look at everything that they do in becoming a rapper. Like you can't even be a rapper and you don't have jewelry. Like if you don't have money. It like you can't, it doesn't even go together no more. That's the image. That's the concept that's around our music now. That's all it's built around. It ain't about the knowledge. It ain't about the message no more. See, it used to be about that. You know why? Because it wasn't making billions of dollars. In the beginning, it wasn't making it. That shit was pure then. So when they say hip-hop pures, that's what they talking about, them pures. It was pure then. That shit was about expression. It was about art. It was about a message. It was deep. It was a reflection from the community of the people to the world. But now, billions of dollars, $1 billion industry, right? It's not about that no more. It's about the money. That's why it's been infiltrated. See, we do the underdealings of the whole world. That's why we are the class that we in. That's why we classify as black. We do the underworld dealings of the world. That is the image. That's the mask they have put on us as black Americans. So we seen as the drug dealers, the loud, ratchet, disrespectful women. That's the imagery that's placed on us. That's what we carry, the underworld dealers. That's what it is. When in reality, the biggest drug dealers are the pharmaceutical companies. The biggest gangs is the fucking police in the justice system. Right? But we carry that image. That's our role in this society. That's how we are painted. Yeah, none of it's real. It's, but see, we can't, it's hard for us to get into that frame of thought because we had a fear of death. That's what makes us so fit to be slaves. They took that away from us, that spiritual understanding of death. Like, there is no death. Energy cannot die. It just transforms. We just move on. But we're so deeply embedded in the fear of that because we've been programmed with the fear of heaven or hell after life, after we die. And because of that, it makes us good mental slaves. That's the whole concept of being limited. That's where your mental slavery comes in at. It's because you're fit to be a slave because you just don't want to die. Regardless of how you live, you just don't want to die. Whereas, our ancestors had an obsession with death because they understood in dying, that's the liberation of the soul. But all of it is what it is. Panda, I know I gotta check out Panda's. He just did a video on the CIA and the gangster, the hip hop music. I gotta check that out. But all of these things have tricks in them. See, the way I see it is hip hop was always seen as the next branch of revolution for us, and there was always something that they knew, and they've been steps ahead of us. Because they know that there has to be a rising. So if you can control that energy, if you can direct where that energy goes, right, you can maintain and keep your established order. So naturally, a lot of us are warriors, man. We warrior people. Y'all know how long we was fighting them peoples when they came over here? We was fighting them people for a long time. History ain't what they tell you. Some of us naturally got that in us. Some of us are warrior spirits. Some of us that's just who we are. So if you can direct that energy, let's just get these little niggas caught up in themselves and make them kill each other. Cause they clearly ain't got no reason, they ain't got no problem in dying for what they believe in. They ain't got no problem dying in what they believe in. They ain't got no problem going to war for what they believe in. They just caught up in the wrong shit. Now imagine if you had all them little knuckleheads that was really on some revolutionary movement. Imagine it. Imagine that energy. Because we have that ability within us. We have that capability. We have that chaos energy in us. So the best thing you can do is control it. And manipulate it. That's the best thing you can do. Because they can't stop you. You can only stop yourself. You can only stop yourself. So they most certainly infiltrated the hip hop. They knew what it was going to become. Look at Tupac. Tupac is a perfect example. Like I said, we've had this talk before. Some people may feel like Tupac was an agent. I can't say that I agree with it. But I can see why they would say that. But I feel like they utilize a lot of things about him against himself and against the people, against the culture. He was a person. See, we don't understand it though. And he was a Gemini. He was a Gemini. Yeah. And then taking away our revolutionaries, they didn't. And when it came to the Panthers, and the way a lot of them ended up, man, they really, really did us in the way they did the Panthers, because they didn't just take them out. It was different. It was deep. Some of them, they changed. Some of them, drugs is a thing. For some people, they utilize drugs. They utilize drugs against us heavy. Let's not even say some people. Let's just know and understand. When we looking at our communities, we looking at our neighborhoods, we were flooded with the drugs. We know this. But we know the CIA is the original drug dealers, right? Right? When we talking about narcotics, right? We know that. And we know these motherfuckers that infiltrated our music. We know they've had files. They've had to release these files on a lot of our people, a lot of our leaders. A lot of things that a lot of people would say that's conspiracy has come to pass to be true. So somebody is aware of what you're capable of, even if you are not. Even if you are not. But if you can taint the music industry, if you can just If you can just pollute it, if you can just push this gangster rap image, you can just push this image, and that in itself be what makes the money. There's a lot that you're doing because they know the influence of the music on us. They know how impactful music is for us. They know. And a lot of our people are traumatized by poverty. It's poverty. It's poverty. They don't want to be stuck in poverty. That's just what it is. Look at these young people. They be growing up in homes. What Nipsey say in that song? What he say in that song? What can make a nigga want to go and get it? Said he want a Beamer with the subs in it. Said he grew up in a house and there was love missing. So he went up on the set and that's where he got his love. Why? They accepted on the block. Ain't nobody trying to make them be something that they not. Ain't nobody disowning them. Ain't nobody breaking them down because of how they can't fit into the society. Yeah? So they go to where there's love. People want love, man, and connection. And they want to be accepted. And sad to say, a lot of, if we had more, elevated gang leaders, because clearly we don't, because they capitalize off of these ones who thinks like this, Bro, how, not even that, the PNB Rock thing, how a father and his 17-year-old son and the wife be behind that, man? What father is the getaway driver, for their 17-year-old shooting and killing somebody? Listen, this is a crazy world we live in. You hear me? This shit is chaos. This shit is chaos. This shit is chaos, man. All for some jewelry. All for some money. That shit is illusion. So when I say illusion, that's what I mean. All this physical is illusion. I don't care. Don't none of it matter, because when you die, ain't none of it going with you. If it can't go with you, what's the point if it can't go with you? What's the point if it can't go with you? What's the point in it? So there's something to think about, man. There's something to think about. So a lot of times we shadow boxing and we don't know it. And when I say shadow boxing, I'm talking about that interaction, that exchange when we in our relationships. The shadow, our shadow, especially when you're talking about your significant other, when you're talking about your spouse, and y'all doing them low blows at each other. Y'all hitting each other low. That shadow boxing, hitting what's not there. That's what you're doing. You're shadow boxing. You shadow boxing. Because most of the time your partner is your mirror. You gotta respect that feedback. Now, granted, people don't always give us feedback in the best manner possible. But that's where your self-mastery comes in, and mastering your own self and mastering your shadow. And having the courage to be willing to stand up and face that shadow. To assess, well, damn, am I condescending? You gotta address yourself. You really do. You really, really do. You really, really do. So, I'm gonna go ahead on and wrap up the live. Anybody got any questions before I hop off of here? How do you, with shiny objects? Ooh, yeah. So, man, we all steady, we steady living and learning. It's a dance, so, think about the all of the hermetic principles, all of the laws of the universe, the law of rhythm, the law of opposites, the law of correspondence, all these things, the more you dig into it, the more sense it makes. The deeper, the more sense it makes. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. Oh man. That's a tricky question though, cause with Capricorns, I find that y'all change with age. You got a lot of Capricorn energy. And for it to be in your moon too, people probably call you cold. You probably got issues with your emotions. Do yoga recommend it? I do recommend it. I haven't done yoga in a little bit. I've just been really busy, but I do recommend it. It's a good means of union between spirit and body. So bringing two parts of yourself together is a good means of doing that. Because sometimes in our shadow too, a lot of us can cast out shadow traits dealing with our physical body. You know, we disown ourselves, disown our body, not like our body. So bringing, that spiritual use of your body into union with yourself is always a powerful thing. Who hold evil intentions towards us. Your best bet, you gotta neutralize. Now, some people may be aggressive. It depends on who you're dealing with. Some people might be aggressive in their energy. Now, I believe, honestly, that everybody has abilities, even if they're not aware of them. So when people have bad intentions, they can very well direct their energy towards you, and it can affect you. I would say that your best bet is to avoid those particular type of people. Try not to engage, because every time you engage, you exchange. Right, and they can pull you in. It's much easier. It's like a hole, like a black hole. It's much easier to get warped into the negativity. It's like getting pulled down. You gotta scrap and get yourself up. So you want to try and avoid them at all costs. You want to set your boundaries. Boundaries are important, like psychically as well as just emotionally. They're important because that establishes a boundary yourself. Naturally, your spiritual work, your spiritual awareness is psychic protection in itself. So naturally, the more you work your third eye, it provides psychic protection. Just you being aware of it, in a sense, is a strong means of you being of your psychic power working. Now, I mentioned some stones earlier: black tourmaline, black obsidian. Those are great for absorbing negative energy and psychic attacks. So it can absorb that and pull it in. So that's a good means of using that too. Spiritual gang. What you mean by that? I don't know what a spiritual gangster is. You gotta kind of give me some insight into what that is. Astrologer. I don't be doing labels, but I'm big in astrology. I do a lot of astrology. I teach a lot of astrology, but I deal with it in terms of how to do shadow work with it. So it's how to see your shadow, how to do what you like, how to do with that, what to do with that information. You know what I mean? Like how to actually apply it so that you can go through the alchemical transformations, to bring into fruition what you may be trying to. Because the way I see it, astrology, your transits, even your natal chart is describing how the energy may be currently or how it may be a default. So depending on that energy is how you can work with that energy. Well, and with that Capricorn energy, it's Saturn. So, Saturn or Chronos, that type of energy is dark. It's seen as death, it's serious. You might be having a serious personality type of person. But what I know about Capricorn has a very, very strong imaginative side, but it can really be suppressed. Most of the time it is repressed in Capricorns. That's their lesson. It's because they push it down, because they can be so serious about life and be so caught up in, doing what's for the illusion or what's for the physical, that they can push them dreams, imaginations, and things down. And it might come out later on in their older age once they've gotten to a certain position, but it can be kind of tainted at that particular type of point. So they usually have to work with their emotional side or imaginative side, their dreamy side, as you get older. Just in a sense, how do you find your rising sun and moon? With knowing, if you know the time, then you put in your birth information, including the time. If you don't know the time, it's gonna be hard to know, especially it's going to be hard to know when it comes to the rising and the moon. If you have an idea of the time frame of what time of day, you might can know your moon sign. But it'll be harder to be able to tell your rising. It could be harder to be accurate about your houses. But for the most part, it's how you would do. What about Virgos, if you don't mind me asking? As a Virgo, we deal with perfection a lot. We deal with judgment a lot. We judge the hell out of people and situations a lot. We want to do things perfect all the time. Or it's not really about perfect. It's about doing it right. That's judgment. Judgment, right or wrong, good or bad, whether we realize it or not. So we always want to be on the right side of things. And that can be a hindrance for Virgos. Because Virgo is the hermit. Virgo is really like that because Virgo is caught up on the transformation process because it rules the sixth house. And that's right before you go up into the higher houses. Right up until you go into the spiritual houses, I call the higher part of the chart the spiritual part and the lower part like the physical part. So the Virgo ruling that sixth house about that work. To me, that's work. That's daily work. That's self-work. That's your alchemy. That's you bettering yourself, your personal development. So Virgos can get caught up in that. So the Virgos that don't deal with it, the Virgos that don't deal with their hermit nature are usually horrible fucking people. And I'm just saying that as a Virgo, because we have to do that, yo. Like, we have to take time and reflect on self. We must do that. It's just a part of our nature. So when we don't do it, that becomes projected, and then it's everybody else is doing everything wrong. We never do nothing wrong and stuff like that. So where the planets were when you were born. You can just look it up. You can, even if you don't have the time, it'll tell you your planetary alignments because the planets was in a certain, and the more the planets, they don't change as much. The moon can change every few days, the sign that it's in. Mercury change every few weeks. Venus every few months. So it goes like that. It kind of goes like that. I'm from a family of 22. Oh, 22. Now they can have definitely have an effect with so many people around because the dynamics of everybody in the family and the role position you play in the family has a lot to do with your own psychology, your own psyche. So no problem. But in the meantime, I'll be back on live sometime later this week, and we will do this again. Oh, okay, a family of 12 siblings. Okay, 12, and you the black sheep. Okay, so that means out of everybody in the family, then that means you doing the shadow work. That means that you probably as the one, or you and your sister don't put up with the antics or don't accept, the role that the family try to put y'all in to make y'all be accepting of your role. 22 and 222 has been a repeated number. Something about building. You gotta cooperate. You might be trying to build something. You're trying to cooperate. You probably is in a likely sense. It's lessons about you yourself, about your own inner. Are you cooperating with yourself? Are you listening to your intuition? Are you dealing with your intuition? Are you dealing with love situations right now? Something with a relationship. It requires cooperation. It requires balance. Do not overgive. Keep yourself maintained in balance. Don't overgive. Don't overdo. Don't underdo, and try not to try to keep yourself in a balance. Only do your part so you can allow the other person to do their part. Well, even as an only child, as we growing up, we may have friends or somebody of the opposite sex that can provide like a sibling dynamic. But it's really a means of reflecting on yourself. So even as a woman, to have a sister or to call on a sister, the invisible sister, that's the other part of you. So that would be all of the traits that you don't exhibit or that you don't feel like you exhibit. That would be what that shadow, what your unconscious sister or shadow sister would look like. The invisible sister, which would also be you connecting with the other part of you. So, that's just it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I will save the live. I'm going to keep it on here and I'm going to put it on the YouTube. If you want to get on the YouTube, it is Cosmic Paradox, just like, the Cosmic Paradox that's here. The link is also in my bio. If you click the link in my bio, it has all my links there, my social medias, and everything that I have going on, products and services. If y'all really vibe with this information and you want this on a consistent basis, then get the membership. Membership is $33. You put up new content every week. So Right now, the classes of the astrology and shadow work and the numerology is the content that's being posted up. So it's all content around astrology and numerology. Now also we have the introduction to the occult. So we have part one of that, which is up and available, and part two will be up soon. But new content goes on there every week. Um, so and again, if you guys have the energy report, or if you've had a energy report, you haven't received it, reach out and contact me. And again, anybody who's gotten on here later, I do not do any DMs. I do not have any backup pages, so that is not me. If you come across a page pretending to be me, please report that page. Report it as someone I know. Instagram will not verify me, so you gotta put it as someone I know. And it looks like a lot of the pages are going away. I can't verify that for sure, because at this point they like have my page blocked, so it's hard for me to even find these fake pages. So if y'all come across them, just report it and block it. And from there, I'm gonna wrap it on up. I'm gonna go on and tap on out for today. Y'all be good. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good week. Peace.